was going to
Hold on.
ask you, do we have enough folks to call the meeting to order yet?
We do have a quorum. We are live streaming. Do you see it, Vanessa? I'm ready to hit record. Here we go. We are live. We are live streaming. Do you see it, Vanessa? I'm ready to hit record. Here we go. Somebody's got a window open that they need to close or put on mute. All right. Mauricio, you have the floor. Thank you for facilitating for us tonight.
My absolute pleasure. Good evening. So lovely to see faces. Certainly not what I was thinking I'd be on a Sunday at 7 p.m., but I'm going to try my absolute best to follow protocol. I'm not particularly good with protocol, but I'm going to try my very best to go through it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read this statement, which is, this is a special meeting of the Oregon Country Fair Board of Directors that was called by 5 board directors. It's not a regular board meeting. In a special meeting, the only business that may be conducted can be what was stipulated in the call for the special meeting on June 26, 2023. The secretary received the following call for a special meeting of the board. Pursuant to Article 8, Section 3 of the OCF bylaws, a special meeting of the board will be held on Sunday, July 16th, today, 2023, at 7 p.m. The purpose of this meeting is to conduct the business that would have been conducted on the July 6, 23 general business meeting of the board had there been a quorum in attendance, and to discuss the items of old business that were tabled. This meeting will be held online and will be open to the membership. All right. And then I was asked to do a quick intro about who I am, who's this relatively strange person speaking to you at this moment. And rather than give you a LinkedIn summary, I'm going to follow the advice of my 5-year-old. I'm going to tell you that my favorite color is blue and black. My favorite ice cream is mango and vanilla. And I have a very fluffy dog named Jermaine. If you care to know anything else about me, I'm happy to send it to you privately. Okay. So at one point I'm going to need the first thing that I should say is that I'm hoping that you can grant me some grace and some forgiveness, as this is sort of unfamiliar territory for me in terms of like what are the governing rules that you all have. And so I'm going to probably be asking for some advice and some guidance as we move through this. So first item of business is announcements. And at this point, any director, officer, or member may make a brief announcement. Do we have any announcements on the floor?
We ask people to put their hand up in the chat, and we call on them in order in which they occur in the chat box. And I'd be happy to manage the chat box for you, Mauricio.
I appreciate that, Kristen. I also see Paxton has his hand up. Would that be, and I don't see anything.
Yes, we usually don't do that, but Paxton has put his hand up in the window. So
I have a motion. Is it ready to do that?
Not yet.
Okay. When it becomes ready, I have a motion.
All right, thank you. Stephen Dyerkoff, you're first up in the chat box.
Okay, so I have 3 brief announcements. One is a final reminder that if there are any advisory petitions that you wish to come before the board via the ballot process in October, July 31st is the deadline to submit those advisory petitions. So you must get them in by then. The second announcement I have is that the board election is happening in October, and if people are interested in becoming candidates, they need to submit their candidate statements by 8 p.m. on August 20th. They must be received in the office, or they must be received via email, received, not sent, by 8 p.m. on the 20th. The third thing regarding that, we will have the elections website online with some updated information, with information for prospective candidates so that they know how to submit their information and what is required. That should be online by July 20th. So look for that in a week. And I would also suggest that anybody who's interested in becoming a new board member, submit your candidate statement early. If there are any errors in the statement, any problems, and you submit it at the last minute, it's too late to fix them. We would be happy to review them ahead of time, and we would advise you if we think there's any problems. So the earlier, the better. Thanks.
Thank you, Stephen. Norma, you're next.
Yes, the teddy bear picnic will be August 19th. Of course, at the main stage meadow. And it looks like the Sugar Beets are going to be our band. And we'll have grilled chicken. I don't know who's going to grill it, but we're going to have grilled chicken. And please bring your own salads and sides to share with your friends, or I don't know if we're sharing with the whole group. I guess we'll figure that out. But anyway, August 19th.
Thank you, Norma. Arna, you're next. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Thank you. I want to remind people that if anyone went home with food vouchers in their pocket, that the Jill Hyman Vision Fund still accepts donations of food vouchers. If you want your voucher back as a souvenir, just put your name and address on the back and we will send it back to you. Plus, we're also still taking donations of money. And you can send checks or drop off cash at the office. There's a donation box there, or mail in a check. I don't know if it's possible for us to get a donation button on the website. We did have QR codes on the boxes at the fair. Of course, it was very hard to use Wi-Fi out at the fair, so I'm not sure how many people got to do that. But I don't know, maybe we can get that onto the website too. I'll talk to the office about that. But if you got any food vouchers, send them in. I think August 31st is our deadline for taking those. Hillary, is that correct? Is that the last day for food voucher redemption?
July 31st.
31st.
July, that's what I meant, July 31st, thank you. So get them in quickly. And hope you'll donate them. Thanks.
That is it for the chat box. The floor is yours, Mauricio. Oh, Paxton's waving his hand.
And mine is about an announcement also. The August 20th is usually the date of the fair evaluation. And I've been sick coming back from the fair, so I haven't had time to talk with people about organizing it. But I do expect that the fair evaluation will happen up at the Entertainment Fire Pit on August 20th. Probably at about 11 o'clock, which is what it normally has. It's a regular event every year. It happens the opposite day of the picnic. So that's something I always look forward to. Thank you.
Thank you, Paxton. Lisa, I saw that you had your hand and you said, never mind, just want to confirm that you don't have one. Is that correct?
Yes, never mind. I was going to ask about the fair evaluation meeting and Paxton answered my question.
Lovely. Thank you, Lisa. All right, if there aren't any more announcements, I'd love to move on to our next item in the agenda. And that would be the approval of the minutes. Now, these are the minutes of June 5th meeting. And so I'm hoping that most of you are familiar with those. And if that's the case, I'd love to ask for a motion. Do I have someone willing to make a motion?
I'll move to accept the minutes from the June 5th meeting.
Thank you, Arna. Do we have
second, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. All right. And then so here, Steve, this might be a good moment. So do we move around asking the names of the directors present to confirm the votes on this motion? Is that correct? All right.
Correct.
And so I'd love if those of you who are directors to unmute yourself and say yay or nay, and then I can try to take notes and move forward this way. Whom do we have here? So I know John A and then John S as well. Go ahead.
Great pleasure to say yay.
All right. Thank you, John.
Mauricio,
Yes.
if there can be board discussion, and it looks like John has raised his hand for discussion. That comes before the vote.
So okay, I'll follow your lead, Stephen. Go ahead.
You're muted, John.
Myself on the screen to unmute me. So excuse me.
That's quite all right, John. Please go ahead.
So the minutes are a little different than the previous minutes. There is for some of the agenda items that were discussed, we now have member comments listed, but we don't have board comments. And I just don't understand the rationale for that. I still object to having committee reports in the body of the minutes, since the committee reports were not presented at the meeting. And once again, I really think we need to be consistent in how we do the minutes. And if we're going to put in member comments, I think we should have some more board discussion. People say that people can go look at the recording of the meeting if they want more information. But the written minutes are what most people are going to see. And I think it's to keep members informed. I would rather have minutes that have more discussion in them. Or if we're going to just go with the strict, just the motions and the votes, then we should do that. To have some comments and not others, I think is real inconsistent. I'm going to vote not to approve the minutes for that reason.
Thank you, John. I'm just so that I make sure that I'm understanding what you're saying. So you're hoping that there could be a different vehicle to make comments into the minutes that aren't just on a motion as it's happening this moment. Is that correct, John?
If we're going to let some comments be there, we need to have all comments there. Yes.
Okay. And then I'm going to defer to you, Steve, if you could help me guide this. So is this, what would happen at this moment? Do we have to pause the approval of the minutes, or do we create a separate amendment that is attached to the minutes of June 5th?
John has not made a motion. If John makes a motion, then we would need to discuss and vote on the motion. But he's just stated his intention to vote no and given the reason why. So
Perfect. Thank you, Steve.
unless there's a motion, we can move on to the vote.
Are you hoping to make a motion, John?
I don't think it would pass, so I'm not planning on making it.
All right, well, I'm hoping that this is going to fruit further discussion, but then the motion continues. So can we move then through the remaining directors to see where you stand on the approval of the minutes, please? Thank you, John. Appreciate you.
Mauricio, just for clarity, directors will announce their name and their vote to you, correct?
That's what I'm hoping for, since I'm very unfamiliar with the faces in front of me. So I apologize to you all. I'm hoping that I become familiar as the meeting moves forward.
May I make a suggestion?
Of course, please.
Stephen, would you announce the names of the board members, and then Mauricio can take their vote down?
I can do that.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Thank you, Tom.
And I'm just going to go in the order I see them on the screen, and I'm going to count to 12 and hope I get everybody. So we'll start with Paxton.
Yes.
AJ.
I'm going to, because I don't believe this is a appropriate business meeting, I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Sandra.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Kevin.
Yes.
Arna.
Yes.
George.
Yes.
Lisa.
I would like to see the board address the format and content of the minutes, but I will vote yes.
John Silvermoon.
No.
Anne.
I would also like to see the board address the format of the meeting notes. My understanding is the minimum that's required is to only have the wording of the motions and how the vote was. And I hope that by the next time we have a more formal recognition of what we expect in our minutes. And I will vote yes in being hopeful. Thank you.
Don Alexander.
Thank you, Anne.
Appreciation to our note taker. I say yes.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. Who was the last one? I apologize.
It was John Alexander voted yes.
Oh, John. Okay, sorry.
Kevin. Kevin, did you vote, Kevin?
Kevin voted.
I voted, yeah.
Right.
I
So-
counted 12.
So it seems like we have a positive motion. Yes. Beautiful.
Did you
Thank you.
vote?
I'm so sorry.
I was not called on. I am going to abstain due
Oh,
to the
Sue.
format. Thank you.
How did I miss you? I'm so sorry.
That's okay, Stephen.
I must have miscounted. I was paying attention to the dialogue.
Thank you, Sue. Now I feel like I need to count to make sure that I get it straight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I believe I have everyone. Thank you. Thank you all for your patience with me, and I appreciate all your helping me troubleshoot this bit of procedure. Okay,
That
so
was the first
with-
time calling too. So
fabulous. Thank you, Stephen. Okay, so if it feels right, then we can move on to the next order of business. Does that feel right?
Mhm.
Excellent. All right. So then we're gonna try to get approval for the agenda for today's meeting that I'm also hoping everybody receives in a timely manner. Do we have someone willing to make a motion?
I am.
now, in fact, so we need to make a motion to approve the agenda first,
Oh, excuse me, sorry.
an amendment.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the amended agenda. Did you say that?
Somebody needs to make a motion to approve the agenda as it stands.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as it stands.
I'll second it.
Who was the second? I'm sorry.
Sandra,
And then do I make a motion to amend it?
You can make a motion to amend.
Okay, I would like to move also to amend. And because there are no items of new business or old business, I move to remove all remaining items on the agenda except the president's piece.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Now I'm gonna try my very best to move through your names to see where you stand on this motion. Okay, John Alexander.
We need to take input now. Member input and then board input.
Gotcha. So there we go. We're at the input moment. Please go ahead.
And do we have a member hand up already?
You have Grumpy.
So I object to this motion. I think we are to at least have an executive director's report, which is part of the agenda. So if you're just going to remove all the rest of the agenda, at least we should have that. So I think this motion is not well taken. Thank you.
Thank you, Rumpy.
Any other member input? Heather Kent?
So one of the people who called this meeting is now trying to call off the meeting, essentially. So a whole bunch of people's effort went into calling this meeting, and now all of a sudden it's not needed. This is absolutely insane.
Thank you, Heather.
Vincent La Rochelle?
Hello, I am Vincent La Rochelle. I am booth rep of X64. And I am also on the crafts committee, long time. And I would like to find out if something is going to be done so the Peach Book works next year, so that all the artists can be listed. So many people were so upset, and I heard complaints from customers. They couldn't, the Peach Book was useless. They couldn't find who they were looking for. And apparently this is the second year this has gone on.
Vincent, my apologies to you, Vincent. I believe we need to try to stick to the motion. Is this an input in regards to this particular motion, Vincent?
No, I thought this was member input in general.
I think we'll get to it in a moment. We'll make sure that you
Okay,
get.
all right.
Thank you, Vincent. Aaron,
Hi. Yeah, I'm a little confused by what's happening. I think there's a lot of confused faces here, but we do have a full quorum of the board here, and we didn't hear staff reports at the last meeting because there wasn't a quorum. I didn't know we needed a quorum to hear staff reports. But I personally would love to hear staff reports because that was what I usually tune in for. I'd like to hear what Kirsten has to say. So if there is a report available and if the board has the time to listen, I would like to know what's going on with the staff. There. Thank you.
thank you, Aaron. I appreciate you. All right, Stephen Bergson.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
please go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess I would ask that Paxton consider a friendly amendment based on the conversations transpired here. I was pretty taken aback by the calling of this meeting in the first place, and I do think that there was a potential for something inappropriate to happen. However, if you're gonna, at this point, it makes sense to hear at least the executive director's report, and this is the immediately after fair. So it seems really appropriate to take general member input, which obviously Vincent wanted to do. I think that you could still do those two things and then move on to adjourning, since you've brought everyone here and already got our time. Thanks.
I appreciate you, Stephen. And this may be that part where because this special meeting was called upon because of the lack of quorum on that June 25th, I'm wondering if that's going to be the reason why some of this may be less defined. So I appreciate you, Stephen. We have then now Lisa. Oh, when it's time for board discussion. Okay, Spirit then, if that feels right.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of said what I want to say. Excuse me, what the heck is happening here? There was hundreds of dollars spent in sending out an announcement for this meeting for it to be really, to pass the minutes. And so I'm curious what the real idea is here. I would all like to hear staff reports and whatever else we can get out of this meeting since we've all joined this evening. Thank you. And thank you for facilitating.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you, Spirits. Okay, and please, Stephen, help me. Do we move then onto additional commentary? Like Lisa's portion, is that correct?
It's time for board discussion if there are no more member input.
Okay, so let's make one a little bit more space. Yeah, sounds great. Please go ahead.
All right, so my understanding is that the ED report would be the same one that we received in our board packet for the July meeting. And same with the treasurer's report. However, I wonder if the maker of the motion would accept a friendly amendment to adjourn after the ED report and member input. Just with the disclaimer that the ED report will be the same one that from before the fair. So unless she has some updates she wants to throw in there ad hoc.
Thank you, Lisa. And I see that AJ's hand is also coming. Please.
Was that a friendly?
Wait, I've asked for a friendly amendment.
Oh,
You
I
asked for a friendly
apologize.
amendment, so now the maker needs to either accept or reject the friendly amendment.
I would accept that friendly amendment.
So then
And
I imagine
second
also need
has
to
to
vote.
accept it as well.
The
Is that
second has to accept.
So that
I
was
don't.
it.
I don't.
Okay, so we don't vote on friendly amendment. So if she rejects it, then the friendly amendment does not take effect. We're back to the original amendment.
Then I would like to move to amend.
Okay, now this is uncharted territory for me. So
I'll second.
I need some of those folks that are really good at this. So
So now we have a motion to amend and a second. So now it's time to discuss the motion to amend.
okay. So do we have members or directors who would like to discuss this new amendment?
Could I just ask Lisa to repeat her amendment?
Does, I had my hand up as well. I didn't know, you called on me and then
I'm sorry, if we're gonna be discussing the amendment, I would like to just hear it again, because I just want to
So
be sure what we're discussing.
Thank you. And AJ, I believe that because the original motion is no longer in play, I think that we need to hear her amendment. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Stephen. And then we can go back to you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Arno is making a point of information and she can interrupt at any time to ask that question. And then it
Perfect.
goes back to AJ, who would be the next person to have the floor.
I appreciate you. Thank you, Stephen. Back in school. So Lisa, if you wouldn't mind repeat that amendment?
I would like to amend that we adjourn the meeting after the ED report and after member input.
And then we start discussion again. Is that correct, Stephen?
Now I go back to the stack and AJ is the next on the stack.
Does this second? Does this amendment need a second?
Yeah, I thought we had a second. I thought John seconded.
John already seconded it.
Okay,
thank you.
All right. And so AJ, please go ahead. I'm sorry. We can move it. Please go ahead.
Well, unfortunately, this is the mess that this meeting created. Calling this meeting created. There was no reason to call this meeting, and now we find ourselves looking like an unprofessional group, like always. This is not a business meeting. This meeting was called for a particular reason, and people have spoken before this meeting to people and made agreements, and now they're stepping back on those agreements like usual. I understand the membership that showed up here tonight wants to know, have some answers. And I would just say, I don't think this is the appropriate platform to get those answers, because this is not an appropriate meeting. And unfortunately, some of us on the board knew that this was not an appropriate, and considering that the membership itself, most of which probably have not returned home and got settled after fair, are not here to listen to this. I protest us going into business when it is not fair that every member has an opportunity to log on and be a part of this meeting. This is why having a meeting less than a week after fair is so, unless it was an emergency, which it is not, is so inappropriate. So I would ask that we consider the membership as a whole and our organization as a whole, and recognize that not all could attend this meeting because it's so close to fair, and that we adjourn this meeting immediately.
Appreciate your voice, AJ. Okay, moving on. Grumpy, I believe you have your hand up again. Please.
Yes, thank you. I think you should pass this amended motion, because I'd like to hear from the executive director, especially I assume she may have some information about the number of people, public, who paid for, the attendance. And it'd be nice to hear that. And it also would be nice to at least announce what the next year's fair date is, just so everybody remembers that when July 4th is and when the next year's fair is. So it'd be nice to hear that in a report. Thank you.
Thank you, Grumpy. All right, let's see. John Silvermoon.
So the June board meeting, I did not know there was not going to be a quorum to the day of the meeting. There were items that were on the agenda up until the time the agenda was sent out, that were on the agenda at the end as old business at the end of the early June meeting. My thoughts about calling a meeting were so that we could address those items that were removed from the agenda before the meeting, rather than having them go on the August agenda, which I thought would, it's going to be quite full, and wanted to make sure we had time to discuss it. I also felt it was important to hear from Kevin Hillary of the Emerald Ash Borer Work Group. I know that there are people who say that, oh, well, that can wait till August. The more I learn about the Emerald Ash Borer, the more I know that the longer we wait to hear what Kevin has to say, we lose critical time to make decisions. And those were the reasons I called for this meeting. I think it does the fair a disservice for conspiracy theorists to spin the stuff that I've seen being spun on Facebook. If this motion to amend the passes, I hope that Kevin has the opportunity during member input to give his comments about Emerald Ash Borer, because I think that's very critical for the board to hear. The sooner, the better. The longer we delay on hearing his message, it's gonna, yeah. So, but I just wanted to clarify for folks the reasons why I supported this meeting. And had I known that people were not going to attend, a quorum was not be present before the meeting, I would have contacted other board members about this. And I think, again, that's a process question. I know that when I'm going to miss a board meeting, I send a message to the entire board, so the entire board knows that I'm not going to be there. And I would just hope that my fellow board members going forward would do the same, so that, you know, we can know what's going on. I felt very blindsided showing up at the fair site and there being no quorum. And again, I would have reached out to other board members had I known they were not going to be there, but I did not know they were not going to be there until the day of the meeting. Thank you.
I appreciate you, John. I hear you. Okay, Sandra, please.
Okay, I wanted to point out that the agenda goes out the Wednesday before the board meeting, so everybody knows what's on the agenda. That's the process we've been using for quite some time now. You could, and I think it was very clear that there was no old business or new business, that it was tabled. So, and nobody spoke up before the meeting. If it was, so I don't think that there's any blindsiding that was done there at all. It was very clear that there was no business to be done. And it's my understanding that the way that this works with the special meeting, that we do the business that was missed in the 1st of July, that means that the ED report would be the ED report that would have been presented on the 26th, which is before the fair, which is one of the reasons that I don't support this, because you know, it isn't a relevant ED report any longer if it was pre-fair. So I don't know. I think it's just time to move on here.
Thank you, Sandra. Arna, please.
Calling this meeting never made any sense. There was never an agenda for this meeting, because there was never an agenda for that second meeting in June. There was no old business and there was no new business. I had tabled every motion I had for August. I guess I said specifically to August for 3 of the motions, but one motion I guess I did not say specifically to August. But I did announce that I would not be at the June live meeting because I would be out of the country. So I think any reasonable person with goodwill would understand that I would not be tabling anything to that meeting, since I wouldn't be there to present a motion. So if somebody thought that I would be presenting that motion at this meeting, they could have gotten in touch with me before they called the meeting to see if I would do that. No one called me or got in touch with me. I found out about this meeting the way that most of the membership did. I got a notice in my email saying that a special meeting had been called. And that's how I found out about it. There was never a reason for this meeting. We never have this meeting in July. It's too soon after the fair to have reports. Member comments can come in August. You know, Kirsten's report will not be relevant, as I understand. Hillary has no reports. It's too soon for her to get anything together financially. The figures aren't in. And you know, I have still not heard a reasonable and good reason why this meeting was called. So I'm sorry that people came out for this meeting because I think it's basically a waste of everyone's time. It was certainly a waste of staff time and volunteer time at their busiest time of year to call this meeting and have to send out postcards to the people who aren't on our email list, the members aren't on our email list, and that costs us money that we didn't need to spend. All of this is good, could wait till August because it normally does, and there's no business before the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Arna, and I believe AJ, you have your hand up once. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm going to need some help with this. Stephen, I believe there is a process in which I can call a meeting to end, and I'm wanting to do that. I just don't know the language of it. I know that it is possible for us to call and vote. Can you provide me with that language?
Yes, you can make a motion to adjourn. However, there is a motion and an amendment to the motion that are outstanding, and those have to be addressed before a new motion can be made. So after the motion to pass the agenda has had a vote, you can make a motion to adjourn.
So I move to call the question.
So let me understand this, Stephen, because it's starting to get a little bit like musical chairs. So we have the motion to remove the items. Then we have an amendment that Lisa brought forward. Thank you. And we were given input on that amendment, correct? And now we have AJ's new motion. How, so do we call a vote?
Yet. AJ just called the motion, which means he's asking to end discussion on the amendment. So at this point, either the board can vote not to call the motion and continue discussion, and that has to be a 2/3 vote, or we can just vote on the amendment at this point.
On Lisa's amendment, correct, Stephen?
Just on the amendment. We have to vote on the amendment before we vote on the main motion.
Does there need to be a second on calling the question?
Not on calling the question, but there does. But if anybody objects to calling the question, there needs to be a vote.
Okay. So do we
So
move?
one director can object, and then you vote to call the question.
I think you were trying to come in, John A. No? Okay.
Can I make a point of order?
I believe that's allowed, Stephen.
Can I make a point of order, Stephen?
Not normally for members, but we should probably hear what Stephen has to say.
Please, go ahead.
I'm not sure that it doesn't require a second. That fluctuates from place to place, but I believe that it does require a second. However, the important thing here, and it's been a problem in the past, is it should move immediately to a vote, not have any discussion. You can do it by asking for no objection, but basically it's really important that people not make speeches before their vote, because the point is that the conversation is supposed to end. So the vote should simply be each member saying yes or no, nothing else.
You're correct, Stephen. And what AJ did was he didn't actually make a speech before it. He asked a question. He asked a point of information about how to make a motion.
Yeah, I totally concur.
I would give you some leeway there and say, but normally calling the question is the only thing you say.
I totally concur with that, Stephen. I was talking about if you go forward with a vote, it's important that everyone not make a speech with their vote when the point is to end
Right,
discussion.
simple up and down vote with no discussion.
So we vote now.
If anybody objects to calling the question, we vote. If nobody objects, then we vote on the amendment.
Do we have any objections? I didn't see any. So then we move to vote. Is that correct, Stephen?
Time to vote on the amendment.
Okay, so I'll start calling on directors. John A.
I'm sorry, can you tell us what we're voting on right now? Can we read the,
My understanding is Lisa's amendment. Is that correct, Stephen?
Yes. Can you read your amendment?
and
one
what
more
is
time?
Lisa's amendment again?
Yes.
Lisa, could you read your amendment once more?
That we adjourn the meeting after hearing the ED report and member input.
Yes.
Okay, John A says yes. Tom,
Yes.
Stephen,
I don't vote.
okay, Paxton, I didn't hear Paxton. You might be muted. Yep.
My apologies. Yes.
Thank you, Paxton. AJ,
No,
thank you, AJ. Sandra,
No,
Tom. I'm sorry, I'll already call you Tom. Sorry. Kevin,
yes.
Arna,
Me?
Arna, correct, yes.
Arna, yes. Yes.
Thank you. George,
No.
Lisa,
Yes.
John Silverman,
Yes.
Anne,
Yes.
and Sue.
Yes.
Okay, if by my count, does that mean that the motion has passed? Is that correct, Stephen? Or Kristen? Does that sound about right? Beautiful. Okay. So then in which case, then I believe we move then onto the ED's reports and then membership input. Is that correct?
No,
Excellent.
it's member input first. And all members are restricted to 3 minutes.
Okay.
And I will hold a timer.
I appreciate you, Kristen. I'm learning a ton, by the way, everybody. This has been a roller coaster of emotions already. And I'm going to take notes so that if I am ever given the opportunity to do something like this, I'm going to do a better job at this. All right. So member inputs. Do we have any members commentary that'd like to join in? Vince.
Okay, I would like the board to guarantee that next year all of the 800 craftspeople will be listed in a peach pit, and this will not happen again. Without us, there is nothing. And we also need you people too, but we are originally an arts and crafts fair. And so I would like a guarantee that in next year's fair, the peach pit listing of arts and crafts people happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Vincent. I hear you. Anyone, any other member would like to come in? Coyote, please come in.
Hi, thanks. The only reason I came to this meeting was because I don't trust what's been going on with our board. And, you know, it's a Sunday evening in the summer, a week after the fair. a time to be doing something other than not trusting the people whom we entrust with the well-being of our fair. And I think that's for me. It's sad and it's unfortunate that it's coming to this. That no longer do I have my overall trust that things are going to be above the table, and there's not going to be any blind sides or anything that is just not goodwill among fair membership from the board. And I just hope that I can regain the trust for the board that I've had in over many, many years, because it's not a good feeling not to trust my fellow fair members. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Also, Mauricio, thank you very much. I like your style. I mean, you're authentic, and I like that. That's good. Okay, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
No, I appreciate you, Curry, and I can feel your concern. Truly. Okay, so I know that AJ hand is on the stack, but I also saw that Kevin put his hand up with a emoticon. I'm hoping that we can use that order if that's okay. Kevin, go ahead.
So I'm on. So hello, everybody. My name is Kevin Hillary. I'm the fair arborist, and I'm going to spend this time just talking really quickly about emerald ash borer. To go over again, I'm asking that the emerald ash borer be put on a monthly agenda item, so I don't have to talk during member input. And then as a representative of LUMP, they're asking for a work session, on-site work session for the board to talk about the emerald ash borer. So what I'd like to talk about is what has happened so far, give you an update. As you know, being board members, you passed a ban on firewood coming in and out. So that was enacted this time. Now the Ritz gets a pass, and the greeters still need a lot of help with this. There was a lot of confusion. Sierra did a really good job real quickly helping set up things at main camp. So this year we've been mainly working on getting the word out and educating people. Dennis Todd did a fantastic job with the EAB Emerald Ash Borer website. It's on path planning if you want to look at it. We also did a really quick last minute effort to get some signs up. I don't know if you saw any of them, but they're ID signs so people can start understanding where are all the ash trees. We did this. I don't know if anybody had a chance to see this, followed by Brendan and Kate did a fantastic job putting this together, and Stephen did a fantastic job printing them out. I gave 2 talks during fair about the emerald ash borer Friday and Saturday, and it went really well. It was amazing to be on Shea Ray stage because someone asked me where are the ash trees, and I looked around Shea Ray, and there were only ash trees right in that area. Anytime, it's really good to be on site and talk about ash because you start getting it, and I'm just going to keep saying this. Anytime you think you know how bad this problem is, it's times 10. And for me, every item, it's times 10. So at the fair, the human toll really hit me. I'm surprised you didn't get a complaint from me because I talked about emerald ash borer so much, and would always preface by talking to people and saying, are you ready to hear this? And still people got quite emotional. My authority was questioned, and there was a lot of conspiracy theories going out. So we need a lot of help. I'd like to get into what needs to happen next, but this is just an update. I would love some questions and answers. Please contact me. I'll try to send up a written item letter to the fair before the next meeting, and hopefully I'll be on an agenda item. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm so glad that your voice was able to come in, and props for the ability to be so synthesized. Okay, so we have AJ coming in, and now I need to ask you, AJ, are you speaking as a member or as a board directors?
As a member.
Thank you, AJ. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so first I want to thank you for facilitating. I also too like your style. My tone is one of disappointment once again in this organization where information like what Kevin just shared is not going to reach the amount of people that it should reach when we have a board meeting. The 5 board members who called this meeting, I would encourage you and employ that you consider what the whole when you're making decisions in the future. This has caused, for lack of a better word, a real clusterfuck in our organization right now. It's just sad that this is the way we continue to do business. It's unfortunate. On a positive note, I'll give a shout out to the Rainbow folks that created that space this year. I give a shout out to the BIPOC Oasis folks. I had spent several days walking by and engaging with people, and I, as a person of color, this was the first fair that I really felt a true family feeling when I was there. There was love, there was respect, and it was just it did stuff to my heart that I cannot explain in words. We are a part of this organization. When I mean we, people of color are a part of this organization and have been for a long time. And over the last couple years, we've heard all these things about how we feel. And this year I felt the presence at OCF, we were able to, as a whole, tell our story of how we feel. And we feel good. And that's what I felt the fair. And so thank you to the organization. Thank you to the staff who worked closely with both of those groups to make their spaces beautiful and give them programming and help just kind of facilitate the relationship when there was issues with camping and things like that. I wish more positivity in this world, and I think we need to start thinking about how we make this fair a better place. Everybody has their part.
Thank you so much, AJ. Perfect timing once more. Okay, so we're moving on to Spirit. Please come in.
I think I made my disappointment in the meeting clear. So I would like to move on to say that I don't want this meeting to overshadow the amazing job that the volunteers did in putting on the show pre-fair, during fair, and wrapping up post-fair. It's been amazing. The crafters, the entertainers, all of the booth people, everybody that makes this go round. It really was a phenomenal fair. I've heard nothing but good. And then lastly, to the staff, beautiful job in your troubleshooting. I do want to say that on external security, we did experience one of our LGBTQIA members being discriminated against and threatened. And big kudos to external security and the BUM team for stepping up and taking care of this. Could have been done a little quicker. However, it was taken care of, and this person came back to the fair feeling safe. And I just want to give a big shout out that we are stepping up and moving in the right direction. And thank you, everybody.
I appreciate you, Spirit. All right, let's keep moving along. Stephen Bergson, please come in.
I just want to, reiterate some of what I've heard. I really wanted to, I recognize, I was moved by some of the discussion about whether or not to have this in the report, but so maybe it has to be repeated next month. But I did want to say that I think the staff did a really great job this year. I think the volunteers did a really great job this year. In my travelings about, I got a lot of positive feedback from everyone I encountered, from every race, creed, color, and orientation seemed to be very happy and seemed to really have the sense of family that we're trying to return to. So I hope we can focus in the coming year on paying attention to all the people who don't come to these things all year round, the people who make up the fair that don't live the fair all year round, and try and focus on what is the general population of the fair really feeling. And meanwhile, like I said, a lot of challenges, some things that can get better, but I thought everyone did a really fantastic job, and it was a really great fair, and a lot of people were referencing it as best fair ever. Of course, that's every year. So hopefully next year will be even better. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you, Stephen. Thank you. All right, Erin.
Hi. So I had a lovely fair this year, and just about, well, I think everyone I talked to had a lovely fair, and that says something. And as Spirit and Stephen and many other people have said, it took all of us to make it happen. Everybody did a great job, worked really well together. The only negative note I heard was the occasional comment of what is going on with the board. And I think that we should have these comments at the next meeting, which is the appropriate meeting to be having this conversation, but I could not say it because there are 33 of us now here on the Zoom meeting. Anyway, bye.
Thank you, Erin. Appreciate you. John Govsky, please come in.
Hi, thanks. My name's John. I'm a longtime crafter at the fair, and I just want to echo what Spirit and others have said. It was a fantastic fair. I think, I'm going to have a little criticism, but overall it was amazingly great. And I did really well as a crafter this year. I did almost as well as last year. And last year was a banner year for many crafters. So kudos to everybody here. I think we all did a lot of really good work. And I thank you all for it. That said, I just want to point out two little areas I think we could improve on. As a crafter, the line to get my wristband seems to be getting longer and not shorter each year, and it's been consistent. It was 2 hours and 10 minutes of a wait for me this year. That's on a Wednesday morning. And I always go Wednesday morning. I know that's peak time probably, but over 2 hours in the hot sun, elderly people, mothers with little kids. I mean, the shade structures weren't even what they were last year. I think over 2 hours of wait for wristbands is just something we can improve on. And I don't see the other groups other than the crafts people, booth people doing that. I don't think staff people have to wait that long for their wristbands. I know they can do it at different times. I mean, so it just seems like something we can improve on. And it's been consistent. It was consistently an hour and a half on Wednesday mornings some years ago. The last couple fairs, it was around 2. So, and now it's over 2 hours. So it's just the trend line's going the wrong way. So hopefully the board can grant the resources to the crew that does. I mean, I don't know what it takes, but it's something I think needs to be fixed. And the other thing is on Shady Lane, the traffic situation was rather chaotic. I'm right at the top of Shady Lane where initially security put a barrier and said no vehicles except certain vehicles can pass. And then 5 minutes later, a gator moved it and went through, even though the security people said gators couldn't go 5 minutes before then. And all fair long on off hours, it was like that. But the loading and loading out, the loading of the people on Shady Lane was inconsistent. Some of the crafters were told they couldn't. They had to park at the end of Shady Lane and cart their stuff down the lane. Other crafters were told they could drive in and did so. Gators and big trucks went through. I mean, it was really inconsistent. So I get that it's a little confusing, but I think the traffic situation is only going to get worse as that erosion continues. So I think that's something that maybe the security or traffic people, whoever's in charge of that, could tighten that up because it was chaotic the whole weekend. It caused a lot of confusion for the traffic on the lane. But again, overall, fantastic fair. I thank you all for your work.
I appreciate you, John. Thank you so much. All right, Lisa, and I need to ask, are you speaking as a member or as a director?
I am speaking as a member.
Thank you, Lisa. Go ahead.
I just want to join in with everyone who is saying that they had such a wonderful fair. For me, it just felt really good to be back, have my feet on the ground, on the land, and to make those in-person connections that I've missed for the past 4 years. It was, I think it was a beautiful event. I thank everybody who was a part of making it happen, and that's all of us. And it just really helped me get back to center about why it is that we're doing what we do. And I just have nothing but gratitude. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. I hear you. John A, please come in. Also, I need to ask. Oh, I see you. You're already speaking as a member. Please come in.
I just want to thank everybody, and I just want to share a quick special thank you. Sunday night late, Monday morning in Xanadu, I went out and everybody was dressed to the nines. It was like Friday night out on the town. And, you know, I chose to raise my kids at this fair, and they were out there and they were doing it. And I had an empanada and I watched these guys play knick-knack poker, and they were throwing down. And I kind of almost at one point in time felt like an old creep, but that was okay because I was just like, you guys are so great. Thank you all so much. And my kids were out there with them. So let's all just remember that we're all each other's kids, and we're all each other's grandkids' parents, and we can keep doing this. And I want all those folks out there that are doing it to get involved and help us, because we can all do better. And we need to build trust in this thing that we have as a board. And so let's get some more people involved, and everybody get out there and give it their all, like we all do out there as a family. So thank you all so much. Best fair ever. And it's the only thing I've ever been to where I can say that every year. And I know it's kind of a cliche, but those kids rocked out there, and we need them. So bring it on and come and keep coming, because you all are great.
Thank you so much, honey. I can feel the emotion in your voice, and I appreciate you. Okay, Arna, please. And just once again, I need to ask, you're speaking as a member, is that correct? Okay. And
Yes, I'm speaking as a member. I also want to say that it was a great fair. It was like one of the most wonderful fairs I've ever had. Maybe the best fair ever, but as most of us say that, we say that every year. I know there were some glitches. There's always glitches. You know, you don't put on an event of this size without having glitches. I see them at other events this size too. I'm always very aware of the glitches when they concern craftspeople, because that's kind of where I come from. That's where my heart is. You know, so I know that there were a few, you know, I knew about the registration line and the Peach Pit, which I don't think we're ever going to get every booth back in there, but we can talk about that, Vince. The Shady Lane traffic. I know the Wi-Fi is an issue for artists. You know, it's a nuisance for most of us, but it's a much bigger issue for artists and booth people because of sales. And I know we're talking about that too. But I think on the whole, it was a great event. And I really do want to thank staff and volunteers and the performers who were great, and all the artists at the show, which are wonderful. I saw some great art this year that I hadn't seen before, and I thought it was really spectacular. I wanted to put a shout out to John Steinhardt, who really helped with the database this year and kind of saved us when everything went south on that. And we really needed him. I know there's a lot of other people to put shout outs to, but I just can't name them all. So I'm just going to thank everybody who was involved in putting on the fair. It was just wonderful. So thanks again, and we'll do it again next year.
Thank you, Arna. And I see that, Anne, your hand is up, and I saw right before you, I saw that Paxton was using the hand raise, and I hope that you'll grant some grace. So I suspect that Paxton didn't get an opportunity to type that in. So Paxton, please come in.
I also want to thank everyone because it was a great fair. My crew, video crew, accomplished a 3-year-long goal that we've been going, and go look for it online on the .net or .org site. It's called Oregon Country Fair TV. We were able to stream main stages this year for the first time ever, and we're working with the artists and trying to develop more ability to stream their music and stuff like this. It's the start of a process, a 3-year-long process, and that we've just gone through, and we're really looking forward to developing more of it. It's a great team I developed, or recruited more than developed. They have developed themselves. The team actually was the one who did the virtual fairs in 2020 and 21. And we realized that we could do this at the fair also. And so that's what we've been working on. And we feel like we had really good success, amazing amount of cooperation. The word for me for this year's fair was cooperation. Everywhere I saw that I went, I needed help, I got help. It was really, really a wonderful fair. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Paxton. Sounds wonderful. All right, Anne, thank you for your patience. Please come in.
I'd like to thank everybody for helping make it a wonderful fair. I'd also like to thank Kirsten for aiding me this spring with an elder that had issues, and that was really important to that individual. And I also want to tell you that in Ark Park, we had Kiss Your Ash Goodbye and some interpretive stuff, and it was very well received, and people did not realize the potential impact of ash trees and how that will affect the fair at some point. And I do really appreciate all those people who stopped and asked about the posters we had up, and who also learned that if you live in Washington County and you move firewood and any of that kind of stuff, that we're trying to be, that the fair is trying to be in front of, that in Washington County, the fine is $10,000 if you get caught. So that is something we should be aware of, and that helps demonstrate the seriousness of this issue. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you, Ron. Thank you. Okay, we have Kevin Levy, please.
Thanks, Mauricio. Speaking as a crafter, we had a fantastic year. I agree with everyone. It was an amazing fair. Really interesting being a part of the board and the background of things, and then being there at the event and seeing it put on, and reminds me of why we're doing this. And really, it was interesting because things are getting wonky or going weird. Everybody's looking at me, and I explained to them that really, this is the point where we observe and report, right? Like, we can only do so much. Sometimes we have to see these things happen in order to fix them. And so I look forward to doing that work and really having that perspective. I really want to thank staff and the volunteers, and really, like I said, seeing them do the thing, and it's amazing the effort put forth. And so really grateful for everybody's positivity. I think I'm really starting to dial in, working and partying and all that. And then I got to see so many people and do so many things. So sorry if you didn't see me all. I'm always working my booth as many hours as possible. So, but it was really a blast. And so I look forward to making all those improvements. Vince, I hear you, and I definitely hear about the registration line. I was in the line, and of course, my family's like, "Well, you're a board member." I was like, "Don't say that." And so, but everyone was really, just had great attitudes. I think it was really good energy, and so I'm excited to do it again next year. So, thanks everybody.
Thank you, Kevin. All right, Zoo, please. And I know I'm not asking anymore, so we're seeing the timer. It's clear that which we have. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Sue. Come in.
Everybody said lots of things about the craft booths, and this crafter, who also serves on the food committee, wants to mention the food booths. We had 4 new booths this year: Makeda's Ethiopian Food, Cheesy Wheezies, Dump City Dumplings, and Go Giddy Pops. And in reading in reading stuff on Facebook, it appears that people really enjoyed them, enjoyed their friendliness and their product. So I want to thank the 4 new food booths for knocking it out of the park this year. I saw people walking by eating it and being very happy and excited with the new things. And all the other food booths, I have not heard any complaints. I've heard lots of thank yous. I've heard lots of appreciation for all the good food out there. So just can't pass up the opportunity to say, thank you, food booths. You did well.
Oh, make me hungry, Sue. Now what am I going to do after this? All right. Do we have anyone else? I think that's probably the end of it. We're over an hour. Oh, Vincent, please come in.
I just want to mention that Sunday night, there was a huge truck that drove into Xanadu. And I think it had something to do with sound equipment. And as far as I know, no trucks are allowed, no vehicles are allowed in on Sunday night. And there were kids running all over the place. And there was also a private car in back of it. And I talked to the gate guard and he said, they said it was okay. And he didn't have a walkie-talkie to check with anybody. So he let him in. And security was trying to find out what was going on and nothing happened. So we have a rule about that. And yeah. And actually, I had a really good fair, the best fair ever. And look forward to doing that again next year. And with all the fixes that need to happen. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Vince. I appreciate you. All right. Do we think we have room now for that staff report that some of you have been asking about, perhaps? Okay, lovely. So let's move on to that. If you're ready, Kirsten, at your convenience.
Thank you, Mauricio. Appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. I know it's an unusual date and time, but here we are. So let's make the best of it, shall we? My report is dated. I have been instructed not to go too far astray from the report that I submitted to the June meeting. So I'm going to just jump right in. Here we go. We received feedback about the porta potties during pre-fair. That's the May 15th to the June 3rd. We had unusually large numbers of people on site, and that stressed our porta potty resources. I want to remind everybody that we have a form for crews to fill out to declare their attendance, and I hope that you will use that next year. We can't know what we don't know, and we can't prepare when we don't know how many people are going to come to site. The nice weather definitely played a role in the excitement of getting back to work on site. We will continue to assess our porta potty needs during pre-fair, but we really ask that crews go on the .net site and fill out our form declaring that they're going to be on site, how many people are going to be on their crew in advance. Pre-fair is usually a very small amount of crews prepping for main camp. But this year we got hit really hard and we weren't prepared. At the beginning of main camp, we were trying to get ahead of the curve and allowed Honey Buckets to place porta potties around fair earlier. This caused a lot of confusion and frustration and the belief that this is the normal amount of porta potties available to crews. It is not. Last year, Honey Buckets did not place all of the porta potties until Saturday of the event. So we went out on a limb and let them place porta potties early this year. And again, as I said, it caused a lot of frustration and confusion. And in an effort to serve and support our volunteers, we opened many more porta potties. We have actively investigated these complaints and checked on the porta potties regularly. We consistently found that the porta potties were not overflowing. They were being serviced regularly, and the issue did resolve itself. We are aware of active misinformation and false narratives on Facebook and on site. We cannot act on rumors. Please actively participate in problem solving by contacting bums or employees with firsthand information about issues. The bums and employees are committed to making the volunteers' experience a positive and productive one. Please resist the urge to perpetuate negative information. It is our goal that volunteers no longer feel the need to post on Facebook about issues at fair because they are getting their needs met by communicating directly with the fair. I was a guest speaker at the Vineyard Chamber of Commerce on Wednesday, June 14th, where I spoke for an hour about the wonderful things we do at the fair. For the financials, There will not be any June financials at the August 7th board meeting. We will present the June and the July financials at the September board meeting. This is due to the large volume of transactions that need to be reconciled, and we need extra time to accomplish this. We have begun the SVOG grant audit. With the large increase in some contracts, we are asking all crews to reduce expenses and only spend on health and safety needs. We will not have a full picture of the income versus expenses until after September 30th, which is the deadline for all coordinators to submit their reimbursement. It has been a couple of years since OCS. It will be, excuse me, a couple of years before OCF will overcome the financial effects of COVID and not having an event for a couple of years. Event management, there is an on-site coordinator meeting on June 4th at 2 p.m. At Alice's Fire Pit. It was well attended. New fire risk signs were placed at the information booths in Fair Central. Please, we ask people to check them daily before starting permitted campfires. We met with Zumwalt Campground on Thursday, June 15th, as well as the City of Veneta City Administrator, the Lane County Sheriff's Office. Verizon put in 2 cell towers. The LTD contract was signed. There was no fireworks on the 4th of July, and the site was closed to only working crews or booths. The Durable crew is utilizing their new dishwasher, and this is a big step forward for our Durables program, which we look forward to expanding. Lots of work was happening. The weather has been cooperative, and lots of meetings are happening to address individual crew needs. Marketing, lots of advertising took place. We're on Facebook, in print, radio, billboards, and Spotify. Pre-sale of merchandise went very well. We opened our poster archives, and you can now buy posters dating back to the first year. I personally bought a 1977 poster and love it. Big thank you to James Bateman of the advertising crew for making this happen. Ticket sales went very well. I'm really not supposed to deviate, but I'm going to tell you that on Friday, we sold 12,500 tickets. On Saturday, we sold 15,400 tickets. And on Sunday, we sold 11,500 tickets. I'm not going to bother talking about all the contracts because they've been fulfilled. Or I'm not going to talk about all of our permits because they were all fulfilled. We successfully received all permits needed to legally operate the fair. I will say that the next year's fair dates are July 12th, 13th, and 14th, 2024. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to sharing much more detail in our next meeting.
Thank you, Kirsten. That's impressive. Jeez. I mean, okay. Can I have a candid moment with you all, fellow strangers? These would have been the very first time I would have gone to the fair. I've never been, and life decided that it was not the right time yet. But just tangentially with folks that I just meet on the street, they just randomly start talking about just how amazing the fair is and what it means to them and their families and their kids. And if I were just to pay close attention to the last 15 to 20 minutes of this meeting, and if I could ask you to suspend for just a moment this illusion of being adults, I'm speaking to the children inside all of you. I hope that you see just how much and how special and how magical this thing that you've created is. Because it truly, truly is. I can see just how bright your eyes all got and your smile. The moment we switched from this whole, should have been here, maybe should have not, I don't know, this is chaotic, but everyone just came together at the moment of understanding this thing greater than us that is making the lives of so many so special. So I just want you folks to walk away knowing that a stranger, an observer from a distance, can see just how bright this fair is shining for so many of us. And let's just walk away with that. I'm going to call you friends. Thank you for being here. Thank you for stumbling through this adulting moment, all of us. And thank you for keep bringing the magic to this thing that I'm very, very, very much looking forward to experiencing with my family as well. I think this might be the end of our meeting. And I thank you all.
Thank you, Mauricio.
Thank you, Mauricio.
My pleasure.
Isn't it time for the president's piece?
The amendment did not include the president's piece.
I think we just had it, Paxton.
I'm going to go ahead and let Mauricio's words stand. They're beautiful, and call it good.
Thank you, Tom. Oh, you feel better, friend.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody. Wonderful fair.
Thank you, Mauricio. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you, AJ. Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you, Mauricio.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Night.